Hello, and welcome to InSource Solutions Experts on Tap. My name is Benjamin Davis, and I'm the Training Process Manager for InSource Solutions. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Scitec SCADA connector. The Scitec SCADA connector is the utility that will allow you to log your data from Scitec SCADA into the AVEVA Historian. So let's take a look at that. So what I have here are two virtual machines. One with AVEVA Historian 2020 installed, and one with Scitec SCADA 2018 R2 installed. You do not want to install both the AVEVA Historian and the Scitec SCADA on the same machine, as they will conflict with each other. So let's first look at the AVEVA Historian computer. Let's open this up. And as we can see here, the configuration status is normal, the system status is running, and the license status is valid. There's really no settings that you need to change to get the Scitec SCADA into the Historian here. You just have to make sure that the status is running and that you have valid license installed. Most of our configurations are done at the Scitec side, so let's take a look at that. So here we have Scitec SCADA 2018 R2. So let's open up the Scitec Studio. And in the Scitec Studio, we have a project called EOT. And in that project, we have one I/O device configured so that we can communicate with our Modbus PLC. All right. We're going to use that communication to log our data into our AVEVA Historian. So we're going to come down to the System Model tab, right, and come over to Variables. And we're going to create two variables. The first variable we'll call Water Level, cluster name of Cluster 1, connecting to our Modbus PLC. That will be an integer, and using standard Modbus addressing, we got 3001. Over here into our property section, we can add scaling. So this goes from 0 to 4095, which scales down to 0 to 100. We could add some other properties, such as engineering units or format and such. However, those properties are not needed to log data. All right, let's come up here and add another tag. Water temp, once again cluster 1, Modbus device, integer, and the next address is 300,002. We'll come over here to the raw value of 04095, and we'll scale that from 0 to 250. Let's save that and compile to make sure we have no mistakes or no errors. Okay, that looks good. If we did have any errors or warnings, they would show down here, which we do not, which is good. To make sure that these values are coming through, we can go to Runtime. Wait for it to come up. When it comes up, we're going to come over to Tags, All Variable Tags, and we can see that we have data coming through. Right. Now this data is not being logged yet. We have to configure it to log to our Historian. So let's close this out and hit yes. Our first step on configuring this is to come over to Trends, and we're going to create trend tags for these tags. So we're going to call it Water Level P. Cluster name of Cluster 1. This will be a periodic, and it will log every 1 second. What tag do we want to log? We want to log water level. Right? We'll do 8 byte samples. The last configuration we need to do to this tag is to come down over here to where it says Historian, and where it says Historize, we need to change this to True, right? And that will force it into our Historian. Oops, wrong one there. All right. Let's create our second tag. We'll call it Water Temp P. Cluster 1. Make it a periodic of water level. Sample period of 1 second. And once again, we need to change this to Historize True. We'll go ahead and save that. Compile it to make sure we have no errors or warnings. And we're good to go. Now that we have our tag set up, the next thing we need to do is change the configurations of the system. All right. Our first change needs to be done into the Scitec.ini file. Now we could edit the Scitec.ini file in Notepad. However, that's a tedious task. Instead, what we're going to do is use the GUI. Right? Scitec has a built-in GUI that we can edit the Scitec.ini file. The way we access that is we hit the little drop-down arrow here, and we go to Setup Editor. All right. Notice here we're going to be modifying the Scitec.ini. Right. And what we need to do is come down here to Section and type in CTAPI. Right. And the parameter we need to change is Remote, R-E-M-O-T-E. And we need to give it a value of 1. Right. When we hit add, you'll see that it will add the CTAPI, the remote equals 1, up here, indicating that it's been added to the Scitec.ini file. Right. So all we have to do now is save and close. The second configuration that we need to change is in the Setup Wizard right here. So we're going to hit Setup Wizard. Wait for it to come up. Go to Custom Setup. Right? Hit Next, 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 Next. And in the Network Setup page, we need to change it from the default, which is standalone, to networked. All right? That's the only change that we need to do here. So after that, we just hit Next, 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 and continue on hitting Next until you're out. And finish. So we changed it from standalone down to networked. And the last setting we need to change here in Studio is inside of the security section. We need to have a Scitec administrator to log data into the AVEVA Historian. Now, by default, there is an administrator role, but there are no default users. Right? Now, if you have a Scitec admin already, you can just use that user. However, we do not, so let's add it now. I'm going to call it Scitec Admin. And I'll give it a password. Hit OK. And I'll make that Scitec Admin an administrator. So once again, we're going to save. We're going to compile to make sure we did everything properly. And we'll go to runtime once again, just to make sure everything is working properly. All right, let's look at our tags again, just to make sure that they're still coming through, which they are, which is great. Now, once again, these values are not being logged anywhere, right? They're just our runtime values. To get these values into our AVEVA Historian, we need to configure the Scitec connector. Right? So let's do that now. I'm going to go to Start and open up the Scitec SCADA connector, like so. Right. We're going to come up to Settings so that we can configure it. The first page is where is the Scitec SCADA running? Right? Where is the Scitec SCADA running? So we're just going to enter in the IP address wherever the Scitec SCADA is running. In our case here, it's going to be 104.239.175.174. Right. The username and password that it's asking for is the username and password that we set up inside the studio just a couple seconds ago. Right. So the Scitec Admin here. So Scitec Admin and our password. Let's come down to the destination tab, and this is where we enter in our Historian settings, right? So the host is going to be the IP address of the computer running the Historian. Right? In our case, it's going to be 104.239.174.159. The username and password is the administrator username and password on the Historian computer, or it can be any administrator. So I've already set that up. It's going to be www, and our password is going to be training. Oops, let me type that again. We're going to save that, and we'll start it. Notice that these will change to online. So this indicates that it is connected to the Scitec SCADA, and this indicates that it's connected to the Historian. Right. So sometimes one will show online, one will show disconnected. That way you know which one that you need to fix. All right. And that is all. To verify that our data is going over to the Historian, we'll go back to our Historian computer. All right. We can see now that we have 2 tags being logged, and if we go into our configuration editor, we should be able to see those 2 tags. The tags will show up under the manual tags here. And there they are. So cluster 1 water level _P and cluster 1 dot water temp _P. All right. We can also see that data in trend form. All right. Let's do that now. Oops, I spelled that correctly. And there we see our trend, right? Okay. That is how you connect the Scitec SCADA to the AVEVA Historian using the Scitec SCADA connector. Once again, this is Benjamin Davis, the Training Process Manager for InSource Solutions. If you have any questions, please contact me. My email address I'll put on the screen there. It's bdavis@insourcess.com. Thank you and have a great day.